Okay, good evening, good morning, and good day, wherever you are watching us from. This is JCTV Africa and Matebelelen TV Live and on Zim Social Network. We are coming to you from South Africa, and this is Central African time, 9:07. So we are going to be broadcasting here, and please tell a friend to tell a friend that it is happening here. We are having a philosopher here who is a Pan-Africanist, who is a father, who is also a critical thinker. Today, I'm joined by someone that I revere and also adore when he brings out his intelligence and his knowledge. And some of you were expecting this interview. Mr. Maponga reached out to me. I didn't expect that, but as somebody who is a Pan-Africanist, he had to look out for someone who is younger than him and talk to him. So I'm so grateful to be having him. And I'm not driving alone, or I'm not steering this ship alone. I'm also joined by Nomazulu Moyo on Matebelelen TV Live. And she has been struggling with a network, but we had to start anyway. But before I welcome Nomazulu to the platform, I would like to welcome the man himself, Mr. Maponga, or Bishop Maponga, whichever way you call him. Baba, siyakwamukela ku JCTV Africa and Matebelelen TV Live. How are you doing?
No, siyabonga sithanda ukubingelela uZulu nomphakathi lapha eSkhwahlande naseZimbabwe bonke abalelela lolu hlelo sithi bayethu nina bantwana bohlanga siyajabula ngempela ngoba sesithole nethuba lokuba singabengelela sixoxisana into ezibona ngomlomo silungiswa ngomlomo ngakho ke ngithi halala bantu bakithi ngingumshana wenu ke mina lapha kwaZulu ngoba nangu umama ongizalayo ke isinye engiphuma kusona ngesokwasiziba ke bangamavenda kodwa umkhulu wami ke hayi ngumhlato ongahlulwa lethambo uJamela usibanda yabo.
All right. As I said, I'm not driving solo. We are joined once again by Nomazulu from Matebelelen TV Live. Sawubona sis, sawubona Ntombi, sawubona Noma. How are you? Noma, can you hear us? Seems to be a delay on Noma's video there, but I'm sure she can hear us. All right, we don't want to waste much time. Let's dive into the conversation of the day as we dive into the to the core of what we brought this conversation for. Mr. Maponga, I've known you for quite some time, and one of the things that you have, I think that has caused me, maybe when you stumbled upon one of my videos when I was criticizing you for the leader of Triple C, but I then asked the question, what is your ideal economic plan for Zimbabwe? You have been vocal about the issues of how our economic plan or how our education system is structured. My question is, what is the best ideal economic plan for Zimbabwe that can really work, considering what others are proffering, maybe from the opposition space or from other spaces? What do you think is the best roadmap for Zimbabwe?
Firstly, we need to address the delusion that the African child finds himself or herself in as a post-colonial product of the political, religious, economic, academic, environmental, educational, fraternity and framework in which we find ourselves, where the system was never developed for independent thinking, but the system was developed as a factory plan for developing and producing slaves for the economic system. So immediately you get there, you begin to appreciate that the students, the economists, the librarians, the academicians, the bankers who are coming out of the system are not coming out of the system as innovators of the system. They're not coming out of the system as those that can challenge the system. They're coming into the platform of work as employees of the system. And having that in mind, therefore, it makes it very clear that the African educated child has not been equipped to challenge the colonial system, but come in as a slave of the system. Then you ask me a question, what is my ideal? What is my idea of the economic platform? Firstly, we are going to be addressing the issue of how do you educate a child? What is the difference between wealth and money? What is the difference between folds and profit? And what is the difference between African economy and European economy? Are we saying that the opposition party is bringing to us a colonial economic system, or they are bringing to us an indigenous colonial or an indigenous economic system? And if you ask me, then what is my ideal of the economic system? I can't help it but go back into history. And then you'll know the name Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe. The great Zimbabwe kingdom was here way before the colonial system was here. And people came to interact with Zimbabwe because we're dealing in ivory, we're dealing in iron, we're dealing in gold, way before the colonialists came. So we had an economic infrastructure that was viable, vibrant. The Chinese and the Phoenicians were here way before 9th, 10th, 8th century. Colonialism only comes in the 18th century. And for us to begin to understand what is my ideal for the economic platform of Zimbabwe, I want to say the technologies, the industries, the minerals, the trade tradition that the great Zimbabwe kingdom has had prior to colonization gives us the true model of we produce and we sell our products at the value at which we want to sell them, not at the value at which London Stock Exchange, Japan Stock Exchange, or New York Stock Exchange wants to sell them. It speaks to our agricultural products. It speaks to our mineral products. It speaks to our human resource products. We can't wait for a buyer to tell us how much they want to buy our products. It is the seller who determines how you want to sell your products. What's my ideal for the economy? It is one, that the Zimbabwean must own his economy. 2, the Zimbabwean must own his resources. 3, the Zimbabwean must trade locally and internationally at the value of which they want to sell their products. And by so doing, we will have true meaning to our resources and have the return on our investments. I thank you.
All right. But one might say that maybe you look at us, we are one country that is surrounded by a number of, trading blocks that we are in. We have the trading bloc of SADC, we have the trading bloc of the East African trading bloc, we have COMESA and other trading blocks that are surrounding us. How can we then sort of become the odd one out and navigate through that path of saying we are going back into our history and find the rudiments of trade that were used by our forebearers? How can we navigate? How can we navigate in this economy that we are surrounded with? How can we navigate through those waters, in your own view?
In Shona, we have a proverb that says, "Mvura murongwa, haiuruki musingwi." Mvura murongwa, haiuruki musingwi. Meaning when a river is flowing, it does not skip a hole. It will fill up all the ditches that are in the river as it is going forward. So we cannot even begin to talk about how is our economy going to flow to South Africa, to Botswana, to Zambia, to Mozambique, if the local people are not benefiting from their own products and their own means of production. There is no way we can be talking about an international benefactor when there's no local stakeholder. I hope you can understand what I'm saying. So the primary drivers of the economy are not multinational companies and foreign companies. The first beneficiary of the economy in Shirugwi, the first beneficiaries of chrome must be the people from Shirugwi. The first beneficiaries of cotton must be from Gokwe, not from Shenzhen and in China. So how do we do it? Do it like China did it. Close your doors. I actually want to admit right on public media that sanctions have been one of the blessings that we have received. One of the biggest blessings, because sanctions show you who your friends are and who your enemies are. When you are under sanctions, then you are able to narrow down and hone in your resources and channel your resources towards those that appreciate your production and give value to what you're producing. How do we cope? We cope first by making sure that every mine in the country, the local community are beneficiaries. Every production in the country, the local villagers are the beneficiaries, so that you don't take trains and trucks that are taking raw materials away from your communities into neighboring countries. Because every time raw material is moved from its primary source, it is creating unemployment for the local people. So talk about gold, talk about platinum, talk about chrome, talk about manganese, talk about iron, until we begin to understand what are they using these minerals for. And we create industries at the local community that are able to beneficiate those minerals into products. Listen to me very carefully. We don't need them. They need us. We don't need them. They need us. I lived in London for more than 5-6 years. Half of the companies that are in Luton there are working on iron, and the iron is coming from Zisco Steel. How many thousands are employed in those factories? Vis-a-vis how many hundreds are employed in Zisco Steel? Then you will understand that if you can produce the resource and you can beneficiate it, you are able to create and quench the unemployment factor, which is a problem in the country.
All right. As we continue this conversation, viewers and listeners, you are watching Matabeleland TV Live, you are watching JCTV Africa, and we are with Bishop Maponga. And I'm also joined by Nomazulu Moyo. Welcome back. You have been struggling with the network. She's also part of the host. How are you, Noma? We are in the conversation. I hope you can hear us clearly now. Noma, can you hear us? We seem to be struggling with the network, just to hear Noma. Anyway, let's continue with the conversation. Noma Zulu, you can hear us? All right. Okay. You can jump in with your question, Noma, as we continue with this conversation with Mr. Maponga. Noma? We seem to be struggling with getting Noma there on the line where she is.
She may want to type your questions, and they can upload them for her, because there's a delay there, so that at least we can have some progress while we are struggling with the network.
All right. I have some of the questions that she has sent me on WhatsApp, but I'm going to dive into that in a moment. You are talking about the issue of resources benefiting the locals, but some of the people might say to you, at the moment we are seeing the Chinese, they are coming and they are taking resources from Mrewa area and Mutoko area and other places like in Chiadzwa. We saw even the former president of Zimbabwe saying at one point that he believed that there was some secrecy in the mining of diamonds there. Are you at all convinced at the current administration that they are working in that direction to say the resources that we have, be it the farming resources, be it these minerals that are on the ground, are they benefiting the locals, or are we working in that direction of benefiting the local community in terms of the resources that are at their disposal?
Your question is in twofold. The first fold, I'll answer it philosophically. The man that abuses a woman cannot be responsible for her recovery from the abuse. The British cannot come right now and they say they want to help Zimbabwe to recover, because they are the ones who caused the damage. And as a result, we don't believe that the European economy has an interest in the Zimbabwean development. As a point of departure, we cannot make me fight for democracy, then you want to help me to maintain the democracy that you did not donate at the beginning. So philosophically speaking, it is impossible that I come to you, I beat you up, I break you up, I rape you, I do everything. At the end of the day, then I say, no, don't worry, I'm the one who's going to help you. I actually have someone that can assist you to recover from your wounds and etc. I don't think that is actually an honest view of life. But secondly, we need also to highlight that when you put a country in sanctions and you say that you cannot do business with me, why do you think that I cannot do business with other people? My simple question is, ukaramba mkadzi, when you divorce a woman, it is not fair that you must now put a police station outside of her house where she's staying to make sure who is she going to bed with, who is she sleeping with, who is she talking to. Hey, if you still want her, go back into the house. Don't stand outside the house and you want to monitor what she's doing inside the house. This is the abusive nature of our relationship with our sentimental Britain and Europe and America. Having said that, it is therefore critical for Zimbabweans to be very clear as to who is the enemy and who is their friend. When Europe and Britain put Zimbabweans on sanctions, their intention is to make sure that the economy does not work, it collapses. And when the economy collapses, the people must revolt. When the people revolt, the regime and the government will change. When the government changes, then they'll put another government into place. So, the real monster is not China. The real issue is, how is Zimbabwe going to survive economically when the Americans and the British no longer want to do business with Zimbabwe? I fully understand from an informed platform the plight of the government to keep the taps running, to keep the fuel running, to keep the economy running. When the person who has been supporting your economy decides not to support that economy anymore, and they want you to collapse and die, the fact that Zimbabwe decided to look east, it is a survival technique rather than a political rigma. The diamonds in Chiadzwa are not an issue. Look at us now. The parliament is built, roads are being reconstructed, dams are being what? The residue and the profits and the taxation from those projects is what is keeping the government running now, because Britain and America don't want to do business with Zimbabwe. It's a simple fact. Britain, America, and France, they've decided that they will collapse the government by not doing. It's a similar situation of Russia, where America and Europe says, we won't do business with you, Russia. What does Putin does? Switches off the gas, switches off the fuel, and say, if you don't want to do business with me, I will not do business with you. Until we reach that level of sovereignty, those that want to do business with us must respect us. And those that don't want to do business with us, they can find the closest lake and a sea and jump and drown themselves. So yes, there is some minerals leaving the country for China, but that is the money that the Zimbabwean economy is able to function with right now and keep us afloat. It's not much. It's not much. I hear people are being paid $20, $30, $50, and $100 for the time being. But as the economy is growing, China grew for 30 years in sanctions. And I guarantee you, North Korea, Russia, and Zimbabwe, countries that are feared by the West, our only option is if those countries can come together and we unite our resources. We cannot wait for colonial systems to dictate to us how we must run our economy. So yes, diamonds have left Zimbabwe for China. But the change is not the full value, by the way. You're already in an abused environment. The bayonets of this country have been moving diamonds out of Zimbabwe for 20, 30 years. Who spoke about them? Until he got a military base for fighting the government from the diamonds from the country, which was the basis of the MDC organization, and the CCC organization benefits from that overwing. And we want to look around and say, these colonizers are our friends. I beg to differ. If you want to come to my house, you are going to knock on my door and respect me for who I am. You don't come with your abusive framework as a colonizer and tell me what I must do as a country. What is sovereignty all about if it is not about people owning their own resources and benefiting from them? I thank you.
All right. We are continuing with that conversation with Mr. Maponga. I am trying to see if we can have Noma again back on the line. Probably we can have on the line on WhatsApp. She had a lineup of questions here that she had for you in that vein, but I wanted us to explore that line of thought that you are talking about. And I wanted to bring up a follow-up question to say, you are saying that Chinese are keeping the nation afloat with the investment that they are bringing. Yes, it's not much, but one might say you are one of the people that is advocating for Pan-Africanism. And you remember in 2020, there was a story of a Chinese man who disrespected our own chief, and he was punching our own chief, trying to do kung fu on them. What do you say about that when our own traditions are disrespected by these so-called friends from the East? What do you say about that when people are disrespecting our values and our culture?
When you buy an orange, you buy the peels of the orange with the orange, unless you are the kind of man who can buy oranges that are already peeled from the marketplace. What am I saying? When you buy an orange, you must be able to peel off the unwanted peels so that you can remain with what is edible. I'm not saying everything from China is glorious, as much as everything from Europe is not glorious, as much as everything from London is not glorious, as much as everything from America is not glorious. We are not going to tolerate the abuse of African culture and African people by Chinese, by Americans and French, and the British. No, we don't even have to discuss that, my honorable brother. We don't even have to discuss that. That is the rubbish that China is giving us. We need to get rid and remove that. And we condemn that with the strongest term ever, because it shows that they don't value us as people. So I don't have a protection over the government of Zimbabwe or over the Chinese abuse in the name that they're bringing investment, therefore they have a right to abuse us. We are already an abused nation, and we will not tolerate another generation of colonial Chinese who come with disrespect into our country. Therefore, if you want my comment on that, those Chinese must be deported back to their country, and we get the good quality of the investors that must come into our shores. I thank you.
All right. We seem to be getting back our sister here, Noma Zulu. Can you hear us well, Noma?
I can hear you now. I had network problems, but I think everything is fixed now.
All right. All right. Siyakwamukela asisi nangu Baba Maponga. Any questions for him? I think you've been following.
So far I haven't been following this interview, but yeah, I do have a few questions for Baba Maponga. Baba Maponga, also some of the questions are coming from our viewers from Matabeleland Television Live, which is mostly a Ndebele audience from Matabeleland. So yeah, I don't know if I'll be out of topic since I haven't been following your questions, Kenny. To Baba Maponga, I don't know if I'll be lost, but yeah. Maponga, my first question is, we had rumors that you were deported from South Africa. Is it true?
The first thing is that dogs, pigs, and flies, they live in rubbish. They live in the dustbin. That's where they have their food, and where it is dirty, where it is filthy, that is what they are eating from. Gambakwe Media, UJC TV, and everyone else in the country, even my personal number is on my Facebook page. I don't know why any one of them would not bother to even call me and verify information before publishing it. I stand to argue with media personnel that if media is writing history and we are writing lies, what will our children read as history if it is not lies? I've been to South Africa 10 times, 20 times. I'm flying into South Africa tomorrow on my way to Namibia for my book launch. Am I deported? My family is in South Africa. My children are in South Africa. I'm a law-abiding citizen in South Africa. And whoever decided to say Maponga has been deported from South Africa and the hype they wanted to create around that, the benefit of those lies, maybe you must tag them on this platform. And I know for sure that Gambakwe Media was one of the champions of announcing my deportation from South Africa, which is not true. I have the number for Gambakwe. Personally, he has my number. Even the other day when I went to go to South Africa for a meeting, after my leg had an issue, I got hurt at the farm. I got treated in the avenues here. It was a simple tetanus thing. And if people wanted me to get a tetanus injection from Parenyatwa or Dzivarasekwa or Kambuzuma, oh, come on, crying out loud. I live in Mount Pleasant. The closest pharmaceutical company that I went to was in Avenues. I went to Arundel Hospital for my final treatment. And I went to South Africa for things. No, he has gone to South Africa for treatment. I mean, like really, has my foot become a political conversation? Don't you have other bigger things to converse in the country than trying to embarrass the government, and you want to use me as a pony on that thing? It's not fair. Write the truth, then the children that are coming out after us can find correct information. I was not deported from South Africa. I have a permanent residence in South Africa. My ID ends with 188, which means I'm a foreigner. I never changed my name to become a Mkhize or to become a Mlochwa or to become a Zulu in South Africa. I've been there as an economic refugee. I left the country in 1992. And I'm back into the country. And I don't need to apologize for that. I'm not the only one. There are more than 6 million Zimbabweans out there who left the country. Why do you want to isolate me and embarrass me in public media as if I've done something that is extraordinary? But better still, I belong to that 100,000 that have returned.
Thanks so much, Baba Maponga, for clearing that. My other question is, after so many years, you've stayed in South Africa for so many years, why did you think this is the right time to go back home? And did you have any plans to help revive our Zimbabwean situation?
I don't want to die in a foreign country. I don't want to celebrate my life with foreign people. But of course, that comment on its own still breathes into the Pan-African concept of where is Africa and where is Zimbabwe and where is South Africa? I'm still on the continent. So I don't have to feel guilty for living in Zambia or Malawi or South Africa or coming back to Africa, to Zimbabwe itself. I'm just crossing the river. My grandmother is a vendor, Mbedzi. My grandfather from my father's side is a Mgonyama, a Sibanda from KwaZulu-Natal. And my grandmother from my father's side is from Mozambique, from Tete, the Mbonambis, the zebras. My grandfather on my father's side is the Shokomkanya, the Vuzijena. So tell me Mozambique is not my home. Tell me South Africa is not my home. Tell me Zimbabwe is not my home. I need a passport from Harare to Pretoria to Maputo to visit we are back in the Berlin Conference argument where we are saying, are we solidifying the colonial borders in the context that we want to celebrate ourselves as Africans? So I'm not apologizing for being an African. I am sorry to be a Zimbabwean, but I don't apologize for being an African.
All right.
Maponga, can I continue, or you have some more questions?
You still wanted to ask me what was my plan when I was coming back to Zimbabwe. I came back to Zimbabwe for one reason, and one reason only. It is to correct the media space, that we can also speak about positive things that are happening in the country. I've lived outside of the country, and the quality of reporting that is coming out of Zimbabwe into the diaspora is very negative. It makes Zimbabwe look like it's a junkyard. I don't believe that. There are beautiful things happening in this country. And for crying out loud, in as much as we can report on the bad things that are happening, let us be positive enough also to report on the good things that are happening. I came here. I flew in for a meeting, at a meeting in Harare. When I arrived at the airport, that's the day my heart changed. I found skyscrapers of the airport being reconstructed, another runway being developed. And what? And I'm sitting in Johannesburg. All I'm hearing is strikes. Chinja, maitiro, there's strike in Zimbabwe and what? And when I arrived at the airport and I'm driving through the country, and a few people invited me to their farms and to their mines, and I looked around and I said, the story is not as bad as they are saying it. My coming back into the country, therefore, I want to set up. I have set up already. You can see me now. I'm standing and sitting here in my media house in Harare, in Mount Pleasant, where I'm beginning to say, we have a positive story and there's no one who can brand our country positively until we brand it ourselves. Investors will not come when you constantly tell them that your country is a rubbish dump. So I came back because I think we have a positive story we can tell about our country. And you also, as media personnel, start changing your narrative. Report on the bad things happening, but when good things happen, please, guys, come on, guys. Come on, guys. You, Hopewell Chingono, Gambakwe, JCTV, you can't just be negative energies on the media space. Report some good things happening also in the country. That is what it means to be a journalist.
My next question was going to be, what did you see on the ground that needs to be fixed? I can tell that you are happy about a lot of things in Zimbabwe so far. Is there anything that you wish to change in the political situation of Zimbabwe? Is there anything that since you got home you would like to see change?
Yes, there's a lot I want to see changing. Number one, I want to start seeing the African Zimbabwean community understanding the international global conversation on their political issues. There is always a third force. The one who is investing money into political transformation has benefit from that transformation. At the end of the day, what we might call ZANU-PF, what we might call MDC, what we might call CCC, the question is, who are the influencing factors to this political conversation? What I want to see and what I think we must start changing is that Africans, particularly Zimbabweans, I think that Chamisa, I'm saying this on public media and I'll say it loudly because I'm not embarrassed to say what I'm going to say. I think Chamisa and Honorable Mnangagwa must be put in one room. They must talk as men and not hold the whole country to ransom to their conversations. We don't need another third force that will be siding with Honorable Mnangagwa, siding with the Chamisa regime, causing the Zimbabwean community to be at war. Chamisa must walk up, or Honorable Mnangagwa must walk up to Chamisa, close those two people in one room, let them come up with a solution for Zimbabwe. You can put Mtwakazi in that room also. But we don't need to sacrifice a country because every one of them says, it's only me. It's me who must lead the country. Mtwakazi says, I am the leader. Chamisa says, I am the leader. Mnangagwa says, I am the leader. It's not the way you run a country. We are a people in one country. Let those who think that they have ideas on how to run the country and develop it come together. Share your ideas together. How dare does the CCC and Chamisa think that we must wait drinking sewage water, having rubbish dumps? I was in Mbare this afternoon. A whole city council being run by MDC or CCC, I don't know the difference, which is piled up with rubbish. And you are saying, don't remove the rubbish until I come into power. Then I'll come and remove the rubbish. What sort of, how do you hold people ransom to your obsession with power? Because you want to rule. People must suffer until you get in power. When will that be? We need to start talking like Africans, because until we understand global politics, which has its hands on local politics, we may always think that our problem is local when our problem is international. I thank you.
All right. It's getting heated up here on JCTV Africa and Matebelelen TV Live, where we are in conversation with Mr. Maponga. He was responding to some of the questions that are being asked by Nomazulu. We seem to have lost Nomazulu there for a moment, but we hopefully gonna get her back on a better line. We are continuing with the conversation. Once again, if you are here, you know what to do. Please send us your comments, send us your thoughts on WhatsApp. This is the number that you can use that is on our screens so that you can put in your contributions. I'm going to check if they have anyone in at the moment, but we don't have anyone at the moment. I'm going to jump into the questions that were asked by some of our viewers that we asked on the community tab. Let's just go into that question, and then probably one of the questions has been asked by Norma. There is one question here that is on the screen. This is from Oswell Makwaza Chitsa, saying, suppose Triple C wins, will he continue to support ZANU-PF, Mr. Maponga? If Triple C wins the upcoming 2023 elections, will you continue supporting ZANU-PF?
I don't support a political party. There's been a whole lot of stories that I am supporting ZANU-PF. I am anti-CCC. That is not truth. The truth is I am supporting Zimbabwe. And right now I am working and cooperating with the people that have instruments of power to transform and change the environment. I cannot be with opposition. They neither have the means, capacity to transform or build a road or build a hospital. So when I came back into the country, I said, where do I put my voice? Do I put my voice in opposition or do I put my voice in transformation? I made a conscious decision. I know it was expensive, but right here on your station, I'll say it once and for all. I've been trying to get in touch with the leader of CCC, Chamisa himself, for 5 years. He can go back into his Facebook page. He can go back into his WhatsApp numbers. I've sent multitudes of messages to him, trying to reach out to him. He was not interested in talking to me. When I called the office of the president, within 3 days, he gave me an audience to talk to him. What do you want to do, Mr. Maponga, that you're coming to the country? I said, this is my idea. This is my plan. He says, please, you're free. Continue doing what you want to do. You know the political space we are in for safety and security. I'm not a stupid man who can walk up into the country and I put my life at risk simply because I want to be identified with CCC or MDC who don't respect me. I'm not here to support a political party. I support Zimbabwe as a country. What is it that is good for the country? Not what is it that is good for Chamisa? Or what is it that is good for a political party? Because politics comes and goes, but the country remains in place. My vote is with those that are willing and prepared to transform and make the lives of the citizens better. So build a road, I will support you. Build a clinic, I will support you. Build a school, I will support you. And whether it is Chamisa doing it or Honorable Mnangagwa doing it, I am not worried. What my interests are with is with the common community. And of course, before I close on this point, when I started hearing Chamisa talking about the evil and the demonic space of our ancestors, I lost all respect in him. Because the fact that you have become a Christian and you are a pastor of a church, you don't need to insult Africans in their indigenous knowledge systems. It's unprecedented that a whole political leader can stand up on social media and say that our ancestors are demons. Then even his father is a demon, for crying out loud. So I don't need to mix my words. If he does not know his country, does not know the history of his country, does not know the legacy of his country, does not know what Zimbabwe means, does not know what Nehanda means, does not know what Chimurenga means, I don't think he even deserves to step into the office of the president of his country. Because how do you lead a country where you don't even know the background and the history of the country where we are coming from?
All right. We are back with Norma here as we continue with the conversation. It's 10 minutes to 10 Central African time. Norma, you are back. You wanted to fire some questions to Mr. Maponga. Your questions answered.
I have a question for you. When are you coming back to Zimbabwe? Stop telling us you are broadcasting from Johannesburg. When are you also coming back?
We are on my side. I wanted to ask you, Maponga.
You are firing questions, but while you are on your way, I'm here.
Right.
I wanted to ask you about Maponga. Is it okay for me as a young person to come back to Zimbabwe? Am I going to survive in our considering our economic situation? I wanted to ask you that.
A man with one eye is a king amongst the blind. We hope that while you are away from the country, you gathered some skills, you gathered some technologies, and on your way back, please, you can call me. You have my number. You can call me. And let us begin to talk and see how best we can align your skills with the available opportunities on the ground. And we start. I came here, honestly, with nothing. But I got a house now. I got equipment. I took a bit of my investments there and put up a studio together. You can talk to me. It's not difficult. And above everything else, the joy of you being home. Umalume ufile ugogo uyagula and you can go there, visit. Now you are getting married, people can come and tell me. I've lived outside of the country, in Europe, in America, and imali noma unayo mfethu mayihlobo zingekho eduzane ayimnandi leyo mali idliwa yiwula idliwa ngabanye abantu abangakwazi ukuthi ngubani. But tell me that you go to your village and you kill a goat and you can call your neighbors to come and eat it with you, the amount of satisfaction that is there. So your coming back is not only economical, it is spiritual, it is communal, it is societal, and You know what I'm talking about. I can't sell Zimbabwe, your home country, more than that. So wozane kaya ningesabi obaba bala, omalume bala, ogogo bala, nathi boMaponga sila. Maunengxaki, talk to us. It's land you want, talk. It's the technology you want, talk. Let's link each other up and we begin to think together to build the Zimbabwe that we want to see it becoming.
All right. I'm going to bring one
Ngiyabonga
of the
kakhulu
questions.
Maponga ukuzwa lokho ayikho into edlula ekhaya.
All right.
Bengithi ngiyabonga kakhulu kuba Maponga ayikho indawo edlula ekhaya. No matter how much you have, as long as you're not enjoying it with your own people, it's like you don't have anything. You know. Continue, Kenny. I will continue after you.
Sakhe imizi mfethu, sakhe imizi kubo South Africa ngale ama 4 million ama 5 million. But mzana ngishona angikwazi nokuthatha lendlu ngiyoyifaka eBhikita abantu babone kuba impilo yami yonke bengisenzani. Nginemota eziyi6 Ntombo, 6 emagarageni. Agcwele wonke fat, ama-sofa, ama-furniture, ama-plasma, ama-Wi-Fi, ikhona yonke into. Sengigugile manje, I'm 52 years later and I'm asking myself, do I want to die in a foreign country? And the answer is no.
All right. We are going to continue. We are continuing with the conversation, and you are also welcome to come through with your questions on the platform. The number is actually appearing on your screen right now. So this is the number. You can send in your questions to Mr. Maponga if you want to fire any questions to him. But I have a question to Mr. Maponga.
Mr. Maponga. I'm not a Mr. Please. I'm not British.
Okay. Right.
I'm not a British. Yeah, you can call me. No, if I'm not a father, I can say Uputi or Umfoetu or something. I'll susel into a belong ngoba inking I color up on how do we identify each other.
All right. Okay. Very loud and clear. I wanted to ask the question: are you happy with the way how corruption has been? We know corruption has bedeviled our country for quite some time. From the time of 1995, there is a lot of time when with the money that was stolen at the grain marketing board, and we are seeing a few days ago there was a gentleman who worked for the government as a teacher for 21 years, and he is going home with $35 as his retirement. Are you happy at all with the way how corruption is being tackled? There is a Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, but we are not seeing any arrests. We are not seeing all those. Are you happy? Have you ever been in a position where you can talk to the powers that be that let's tackle corruption in a way that is going to stop others from doing it? Are you happy with the way how corruption is being tackled in our country, Mr. Maponga?
I'm not happy to hear that a man goes away with $35. Your question is rhetoric. I'll be insensitive. I'll be altogether stupid to even try to attempt to answer that question. Our grandfathers were given bicycles and watches as retirement packages. Are you happy? Were you happy to see your father coming back from town after 40 years of working in a white man's factory and he brings back a bicycle? So the system, which is colonial, will never respect African people. So the problem is not about the regime that is in place right now. The problem is as old as the colonial system has been entrenched. But coming to your corruption question, we need to address 3 issues. Number 1, corruption. Number 2, corruptor. Number 3, corruptee. Now, corruption is the venue where it is happening. The corruptor is the one who has the money to corrupt someone. The corruptee is the one who is accepting the money from the corruptor, and that becomes corruption. So if you want to talk about corruption in the world, whether it is in America, or it is in Britain, or it is in Zimbabwe, I will show you the corruptor as the bank. Because the man who is receiving the money, which you call the corruptee. You don't corrupt someone with 100% of the corruption. You always give them something smaller out of the something bigger. So the question is, when you are talking about corruption in Zimbabwe, who is the corrupter and who are the corruptees? The corruptees are government ministers. The corruptees are government officials who are receiving 10 million, 5 million, 3 million, 1.5, 500,000, and the corrupter is walking away with 10 billion. So if you want to address corruption, you need to address it at the venue where corruption is happening. So if there is corruption in China, in the government of China. There's corruption in London. There's corruption in New York City, because that's where the bigger money is found. You cannot be talking to Mudara or Nutambura Zake Unova kwa Zimba wapua $10,000, and he has been given $10,000 to sell his community 10 million worth of value, and you say there's corruption in Zimbabwe. I think we're missing the bigger picture. The corrupter is corrupt himself. The colonial system is corrupt. Yes, we have corruptees in our society and in our government who are selling the government, and worse still, some of them are undermining the projects that the government, not the president, the government wants to implement change. But the corruptees at the bottom are slowing down the process of transformation for their own benefit. I can even say this clearly, that if Honorable Mnangagwa will hear this video or audio, we don't need such people in the revolution, because they are not doing us a favor. Yes, you may think that they are your friends because they are government ministers, but they are, if they are undermining the progress of the country, if they are undermining the developing of the society, if they are stealing the seeds and they are stealing the fertilizers and they are not developing the roads when they are given the money to do that, we don't need such leaders in our spaces. So yes, there's corruption. Yes, there's the corruptor. Yes, there are corruptees. We have a venue and the one who has the money. But what we think is corruption in Zimbabwe, I want to classify today on media that we don't have corruption in Zimbabwe. We have corruptees. Corruptees who are prepared to take $5 to benefit their family, and they can sell their community for 100 million. That can benefit the whole community. We don't need such leaders to develop a country.
All right. We're continuing the conversation on the issue of corruption. And thank you, Baba Maponga, for giving us that. We seem to have lost Nomazulu. She was supposed to be part of this conversation. But however, we continue with this story of what is the ideal economy of Zimbabwe. I have a question here from someone here. It's Stabelawe Nkosi. Stabelawe Mandla Nkosi. I think the question has been answered, if I'm not mistaken. Why exactly was he deported from South Africa? Is he a ZANU-PF member? If so, what are the reasons for supporting ZANU-PF? What does he think about Linda Masarira? And what does he have to say about here using 1 August Commission of Inquiry to attack Nelson Chamisa as outburst on the platform that had nothing to do with the events of 1 August 2018? At the end of the interview, please ask him whether he uses a BMW or a Mercedes guy's favorite TV. Okay, I don't know if you picked up that question. That has been asked by Stabele Nkosi. Did you pick up the last part of the question?
I cannot pick up the last part. I'll pick up the first part of the question. I don't even have to answer that. I think we've dealt with that already. She must go back to the people who told her that I was deported, and she must go there and confirm her information, whether I was deported or not. So I don't even have to give the grace to answer that question. But for what it is worth, I was not deported, West Mbile. I'm not deported from South Africa. You can meet me at Johannesburg Airport tomorrow, I'm flying into Johannesburg. So to me, it's not neither here nor there. As I said, it is flies, it is pigs, and it is dogs that always find themselves eating rubbish. And if we are going to build a country together as a people, let's start learning how to do good reporting. Now, see the damage that was caused by one person who reported a wrong story. And now how we can waste a whole show trying to fix that. I mean, it's not the first time. I've heard this even when I was in South Africa. And I understand also in my life that there are third forces. People who don't believe in what I'm doing and how I'm doing that. And if they can find anything to say about anything, then they want to take advantage and blow it out of proportion for their own benefit and for whoever is paying them to do that. But that's a conversation for another day. But whether I use this or that, that's another story. We are already here in 2022. Whether I use a Samsung or I use an iPhone or I use whatever, we're able to talk because of these gadgets. In my tribe, we say, makavu akakurira mbayo kwako ndako. If someone is planting pumpkins and the pumpkin seed grows into your yard and then the pumpkin grows in your house, you can be a good Christian and tell the neighbor that, itanga lako selikhulele ngapha, and you return the pumpkin. But in all honesty, if the pumpkin grows in your house, it is pumpkin. So the technologies that we are talking about, these are the legacies we have inherited from colonialism, and that we are already here. The minerals that they've used, the metals that they've used, the labors that they've used, it's our labor. And I don't think we must apologize for actually using these gadgets and using these cars. For all crying out loud, show me one iron ore mine that is in Germany that is producing iron ore. So why must you apologize? So I think some people just get distracted unnecessarily for looking at smaller little elements because you want to discredit. How can you say an African and yet you are using a phone, you're using a car, you're buying a Mercedes-Benz, but here we are on the internet. Here we are on the internet. So go back and research who started internet, who developed these things of technology. You may just find black people actually were involved in the development of these technologies. So must we now apologize for being Africans because they are not branded as African products? I think that argument is a bit lame. Let's allow the young lady to grow up and understand that culture is dynamic, it is developmental, and as things are changing, we adapt and we maximize for the benefit of our own people. I thank you.
Norma, take it away.
Maponga, do you think after 42 years of failing, ZANU-PF is going to rebuild Zimbabwe, considering that we are approaching elections? Do you think if someone votes for ZANU-PF, they're going to make change in Zimbabwe?
The question is very beautiful. The answer is also beautiful. You want to put a young man, you want to put a young girl who cannot even fly an aeroplane, and you want to put him in a Boeing 707 to say, please take us somewhere. These things take experience, they take training, they take development. With all due respect, what I thought should have happened during the MDC days and the CC days was to allow the opposition party to join the present government so that they learn how to run the system. You don't bring people all fresh and new into a system and you hope that they will succeed. My observation as an old man, the first 5 years of your time in power, you are paying back those that put you in power. Simple. Through contracts and business, they must receive their payments. The next 5 years, you are paying your friends who have supported you in working yourself into power. Then on your next 5 years, which is the third term, you can now start talking about developing a country. to build a simple railway line, to build a simple road, to do a national infrastructure development project will not take you 2 years. It takes assessment, surveys, research, procurement, appointment, and finally delivery. That cannot happen within a space of 2 to 3 years. So put Chamisa in power, he will start being effective on the 15th year. The first 5 years, he must pay his handlers in America, in China, in Britain, and in France. The next 5 years, he must pay BT, he must pay Chingono, and pay all his friends. Then the other 5 years, then he will start building the freeways he was talking about. We want to see if the opposition party is infrastructure intelligence. That right now, you must be showing us, if we get into power, this is how we're going to do the roads. This is how we're going to do the railway lines. Don't tell us a dream. Give us a blueprint. Because that blueprint needs research, needs funding, and needs positioning. And right now in my old age, I cannot wait for another 10, 15 years for someone to pay friends and pay himself before he can get back into power. It is impossible. So I decided I'd rather speak to those who have instruments of change in their hands so that we can implement a difference in our lifetime. This is the simple common sense. You don't need to go to school to learn this. I'm giving you Politics 101 for free. If you as young people want to trust your future in the hands of a young person, be prepared to be at my age and no difference has happened. But when I can speak to the president, I can speak to the ministers and put my influence, my gents, we've eaten enough. It's 42 years later. Can we stop this? And I'm happy to see some movements. I'm not fully happy with the movement. But the other minister the other day was fired for stealing fertilizer and seeds and etc. And it's a good start. It's not the best. It's a good start. But I think that the president can begin to do an audit check on all his ministers, and those that are not delivering, we don't need them. They are not good for him. They're not good for the country. And we can begin to work with what we already have to drive forward. I put an illustration the other day. A ship is on its way to the sea. All of us are in the ship, 200 kilometers into the sea. We discover the ship is not going where we want it to go. Option number one, everyone on board, please jump out of the ship. Let us swim back to the shore and look for a new ship to start going. It's a beautiful idea. But you can tell me how many people can swim for 200 kilometers, and by the time they get there, can they build a new ship and start again? Option number two, kill the one who is driving the ship. I will drive it. Beautiful idea. Can you show us your CV? Do you have history and knowledge on how to drive a ship? Do you even know how to read a compass? Before we can trust you with your idea. Option number three, let's all of us come together and let us talk to the captain and say, Mr. Captain, can you please tell us where are we going and how can we move this ship towards where we want it to go? I feel Zimbabwe has been on the sea for 42 years. And I leave you as young people with those three options. You can decide what you want to do. To swim back, kill the captain, or talk to the captain. I decided to do the third one. I will talk to the captain. And with everything that I have, I will invest it into the president running the country right now and say, Mr. President, I don't need to support ZANU-PF, but I can talk to the powers that be. Can we do it like this on education? Can we do it like this on economics? Can we do it like this on culture? Can you remove David Livingstone from Victoria Falls? Can we remove Sissy John Rhodes from there? Can we do this? Can we? And if he's prepared to listen, I'll have achieved my goal. So can we make a difference by voting ZANU-PF? I want to ask you, give me the project plan of CCC. Let's put them in power tomorrow and give me their implementation strategy, how they're going to change this country. BT, Chingono, and Chamisa. BT, Minister of Finance. Chamisa, President. Chingono, Minister of Communication. Show us your plan. How you're going to build the road from Zaka to Bikita.
All right. We are about to end this conversation, but I want to give Noma a chance to ask also, and then we also have a few questions. I saw a question here that is there. Maybe I'm going to put it up so that there is someone who said that it's Lord Baelish. I don't know if he's a she or a he. Said, Maponga, are you going to contest for an MP or a councillor position in 2023? Norma, can you come through?
I'm not going to contest. I'm not going to contest. I don't need to contest for anything. I'm here simply to make my input towards the development of a country.
All right. Norma?
I also have a question from one of my viewers who met Matabeleland Television Live. As I mentioned earlier that my audience mostly are people from Matabeleland. One of the guys that is asking here, why did you not delete your post even after apologizing? The post where you stood with the 50th Brigade that terrorized and raped the people of Matabeleland. Do you know that some of the victims are still alive?
I had an interview with Mkulu Gwai from America, Canada, and a few other parties. And I anticipated this question to come up forward, actually. And I will not try to sugarcoat it for anything. But I want to ask the same question to that person who asked the question. Can you please go back and do your research and your reading to actually underline the cause and effects, the historical background of the Zulu nation being in Zimbabwe and how they got here and what they did? I asked the question, which the Ndebele community does not want to answer. Are we saying what happened when they arrived is nullified by what happened when Gukurahundi arrived? Then we amplify the Gukurahundi story vis-a-vis the previous story that happened of the Mashonaland oppression. Are you not, if you're conscious enough to look at it in context, to understand the political, the historical, and the cultural background of how the Zulus ended up here and the chaos that happened in their arrival, and even the salt that they're adding on top and paper of trying to establish a kingdom in a country where they have arrived. If you're not prepared to have a conversation that is progressive, I have no comment for you, Nomazulu. I have no comment. My mother and my grandfather is Zulu. I sat with Zwelithini himself in the kingdom of KwaZulu-Natal. Emankengan, right there in Nongoma. Nitshele amandebele aseZimbabwe ukuthi ngibalindile ngapha ngeke babe nenkosi kwaBulawayo izixaka zami ngafaka ichief eZimbabwe, but their allegiance must be to me as a king. I spoke to Zwelithini himself, the king of the Zulus himself. So I'm not thumb-sucking that I'm dreaming from the thing. I know them talk as a thing gives a new hype in the air of identity and etc. But if we are true to our history as Ndebele people, we must know that from KwaZulu-Natal, we went through KwaNdebele and we captured women, we captured cattle, and we moved to the Tswanas in Kimberley. We captured women, we captured cattle. We moved to Botswana, we captured women, we captured cattle. We moved into Zimbabwe, we captured women, we captured cattle. So when you look at the Ndebele tribe, the Ndebeles are involved from Mpumalanga, as South Africa. The Zulus are involved from KwaZulu-Natal. The Tswanas are involved from Kimberley and from Botswana. By the time you're talking about the Ndebele tribe, it's an amalgamated tribe that is coming from a military prowess, military power through the southern region. It is wrong for the Ndebele people with Mtwakazi to begin to build a history as if they originated in Zimbabwe. That is not true. That is not true. Umzilikazi noBulawayo don't start in KwaBulawayo. They start in KwaZulu-Natal. It's common knowledge to all of us. And I don't have to glorify this with academic prowess to make Ndebele people feel nice. Because my mother is also Ndebele. I don't need to make you feel nice. We know our history as a people. Ukungundlovu, le Natal, and at the end of the day, when you come to a country 1,600 kilometers up the north, and then you say you're going to build a kingdom, Mtwakas, in Zimbabwe, I think that's arrogance. Because at the end of the day, I've had to face the insult of being called Ichiti, or being called Ikwere in the Shina when I speak Shona. So I'm a middleman, and I cannot join you in your war when my mother and father are fighting, when my uncles are fighting. I don't want to get involved in that battle. But if we respect our history, we must actually understand and be honest to the truth of the ground at which we are working in. I'm not here about division. I'm here about unity. How do we unite the Ndebele nation and the Shona nation to build the Zimbabwean nation? We can't build that by dividing ourselves further, by creating another kingdom in another environment, in another kingdom. The fact that Munumtapa kingdom had started collapsing does not mean that it was not in survival. Does not mean that Zimbabwe was not a nation. Here you are in Njelele, in Matonjeni, and in Matopos, which are our sacred sites of the Karanga and the Shona people, where they're talking to their gods. Let me stop there before I get emotional and I get misquoted. But you can hear where I'm going to, Nomazulu.
Maponga, ngiyakuzwa kahle into esho. Can we please save this one for our next interview? I heard that you said you're going to give us another opportunity. Can we leave this for now till the next interview? Ngiyabonga kakhulu.
All right. Okay. Yes. I think definitely we'll need that for another. I actually wanted to ask that maybe from my own point of view, I understand that there is a history. We also, as the local Zimbabwean people, we have a history with the people that came from Malawi. We have people from history from the people that are the Matanga, the people that are coming from Mozambique. We had history of them. But some of them, they've settled and they are now called Zimbabweans. They are not aliens on their citizens. And this issue of Gukurahundi, it happened post-colonial, and we were now in our independence, and that's when it happened. And definitely it's something that we need to look at. But anyway, it's something that we need to take a day and we talk about. However, any last words that you want to share with our audience as we close? Maybe as we wrap up this conversation, I know we're going to have other engagements in the future, and we're going to allow a lot of questions to come in. So, any last words to our audience as we close up this conversation? Mkoma Maponga. I'm gonna call you Mkoma because you are my brother.
That's beautiful. They don't change. I want to thank Matabeleland TV in a big way. I want to thank JCTV for reaching out and opening up these doors of conversation. And going forward, we can make these conversations robust. I wish you can talk to the opposition parties, leading parties, cultural leaders, religious leaders. We need to have a healthy conversation as a nation so that we can begin to write our own narrative towards the future that we want to see as a country. We don't gain anything from mud smearing each other on media, trying to prove that minangene weseli, wenangene lutala, minangene sabata, wenangene Roma, isabata ngono kune what. We've been there, guys. We've heard those stories of trying to play superior to the other. At the end of the day, where is your spiritual soul? So I want to thank you and say, as a nation, particularly, we are sharing borders as a country. We are sharing borders as a country, from Zambezi to Limpopo, from Plumtree to Mtare. We have a geographical location as a nation. All of us must begin to think, how do we make this work for all of us? And if the government is prepared to listen to how best we can write that new narrative, let us work together to build a Zimbabwe that we all are going to be part of. And the quotation I put this morning on my Facebook page, those who want to follow me, Farmers of Thought: when two brothers fight to death, the foreigner inherits the property. I thank you.
Wow. Wow. Ngiyabonga kakhulu Baba Maponga, ngiyabonga kakhulu. It's such an honor to me ukuthi ngithole leli thuba lokukhuluma nawe. Ngiyabonga kakhulu.
Thokozani wogogo nabomkhulu. Thokoza.
To our Matabeleland Television live viewers and JCTV Africa, thank you so much for tuning in today. Please subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate your support. Till we meet again. Bye.
Bye-bye.